Hello, everybody. Welcome to How Come. I am very excited for today's guest. Salma Hindy is a first-generation Egyptian-Canadian comedian. She's a writer, actor, and performer who has opened for Ken Jeong, Ramy Youssef, Beth Stelling, and Chelsea Handler. She is currently voicing a series regular character on Golden Globe winner and our friend Ramy Youssef's new A24 Amazon adult animated series, #1 Happy Family. She has also given a TEDx talk about her emotional journey and breaking away from her religious family and pursuing comedy titled Why People Pleasing is Hurting You. But she is going to please you guys today on this episode. We're going to have so much fun. But trigger warning just before we start, there are some body image issues discussed, eating disorders, sexual assault, sexual violence, blood, and religious trauma. So if any of that puts you in a bad place, take some time for yourself. But this episode is amazing, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it.
How come? How come? How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna jizz.
Welcome, Salma.
Thank you. Wow. I forgot. You know what? I watched that TED Talk recently for the first time in years, like last week.
It's really good. I watched it this morning.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And then I offered to send it to a family member of mine because they were like, oh my God, today is awful. My entire life is pleasing my family. And I was like, let me send you this thing.
Oh my God.
And they were like, I don't have time to watch that.
They're like, that's too long.
Yeah. No, it's not long. You guys should all watch it. I'm going to link it below. It's like 17 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. But we met recently on a comedy show at New York Comedy Club. And you were talking about how you had intercourse for the first time in your 30s, right? Like
yes.
31.
So
Yeah.
I actually had my first kiss ever, which was like, I guess, the first sexual thing I've ever done with another human. 2 weeks before turning 30. And then after I turned 30, I attempted to lose my virginity a few times, and it did not work.
We love an attempt.
Yeah, until I was 31 that I actually lost it.
Okay. We will go deeper into that.
Yes.
Later. But yeah, basically in your set, you were like, I had sex for the first time in my 30s. I came during said rendezvous.
Yes.
And this led me to be like, who comes with men on the first try? And I ran up to you and I was like, I've never heard about somebody like you. I was telling you sometimes like we get repetitive stories on the podcast and I was like, you need to come on. We need to talk about this. So before we get into all of that, let's talk about what led up to it. What was your childhood and teen life and sexual education like?
Okay, so I grew up in a suburb of Toronto, Canada. I grew up in Mississauga, Ontario, which is where, if you guys know the rapper Party Next Door, that's where he's from. So random.
I don't, but I love it. Is Drake from Toronto?
Drake
too?
is from Toronto, yeah. But he's super rich, so very unrelatable to a lot of us.
Sure.
But he's from Toronto. So he kind of like put us on the map, I guess, these last couple of years.
No, Toronto's like a place.
But nobody, I guess, I don't know, nobody really cared about it before.
I feel like whenever I meet a Canadian, they're like, you need to come to Toronto.
Yeah. Toronto is just a nice, clean, small, like metropolitan city, great food, a lot of diversity, except our diversity looks very different than America. We don't have many Black people and we don't have any Mexicans. We don't have any like Latino people. So that was, it was an interesting demographic shift when I came here. But yeah, not only did I grow up in a very white suburb of like Mississauga, but I grew up in a very strict conservative Muslim household among all of these like very liberal white people. But my dad never let us interact really with the outside world. We never spoke to our neighbors. We weren't allowed to. Yeah. My dad was like, don't speak to your neighbors because then tomorrow, next thing you know, she'll be at your door in a bikini and invite you to go in her swimming pool. And I was like, that sounds amazing, actually.
I would really like to go to that.
Yeah. No, but when I was younger, I was like, that's horrific.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? So that was my dad. No talking to our next door neighbors. No going to public school. No working any sort of minimum wage job like retail or like McDonald's. Nothing like that.
Sure.
Because that meant interacting with
other people.
Yes. And they would give us ideas and so he was like, we're not risking that.
Are there like levels of Islam? Like for Jews, I think there's like Reformed and Orthodox and Hasidic.
Right.
Are there things like that, or is it just
it's not
you're devout or you're not?
Yeah, it's more like that.
Okay.
There are two main sects. There's like Sunni and Shia, but that's kind of like
that's
Protestant.
different.
Like
Yeah.
There's no like ranks. I would say no. I don't think we have that.
There's no leaderboard.
Yeah, unless you're a religious leader, unless you're like an imam, which is what my dad is and what my brother is. Yeah, both. Oh my god, my brother's a celebrity imam.
You're the preacher's daughter.
I'm literally the preacher's daughter, the preacher's sister. You know what's funny? If they let me be a preacher, I swear to God, I would have been an imam. That would have been my career.
Yeah.
I swear to God.
And now look at you.
Now look at me. You guys just didn't let me in the community. Yeah. Now I had no choice but to be a whore.
Yeah.
So that was the community I grew up in. In terms of sex ed, zero. I only went to Islamic school my whole life.
Okay.
My siblings, because I'm the youngest of 5, there was not even any Islamic school by the time they were in high school. So my dad made them homeschool.
Okay.
My 3 oldest siblings. By the time I got to high school, I went to an Islamic high school. But before that, my parents actually opened an Islamic school when I was in the 3rd grade. No, when I was in the 2nd grade. My mom was my principal.
God. Principal's kid. Like,
I was
these are all the
daughter.
makings of a whore.
That's what I'm saying. My dad thought like, if you follow like textbook, it'll work.
You'll be great.
Yeah. And it did for so long.
And you still are great.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But just not in the way that they wanted.
Not in the exact specific way that he wanted. Yeah. So when I was 7, I think, my mom, she was telling me about Mary, the mother of Jesus, and we believe in her in Islam, but we don't believe. That
is something I don't think everybody knows about Islam, is like it's built on Judaism and Christianity.
Mostly Judaism. It's literally Judaism remixed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even joking. There's some things they took out, like we don't explicitly say thank you God for not making me a man.
Do we say that?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm comparing the most misogynistic things.
Okay, great.
Okay.
The most extremes.
The most extremes. Yeah. Our period rules are almost the same, but we don't go to a mikveh, and we don't have to do the time spent after. It's just the period.
Okay.
But then we do have 4 wives. Kind of cancels everything else out. So that's but it's so
it's
similar.
The original Wives and Girlfriends.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, like how sports wives and girlfriends, they all like hang out together. It's like, yeah, we just all have the same guy.
Exactly. They have different houses. They really make it work. Like, I've never seen it except in Saudi Arabia when we would go for pilgrimage, like me and my family and stuff. But I would talk to them and they'd be like, the key is you got to bankrupt him so that he doesn't have money to marry someone else. And I'm like, they made it work. And then I'm looking at her. I'll never forget this. I was on a plane with a Saudi woman.
Yeah.
We're talking to each other and she's telling me how she's married to her husband. She knows he's going to go marry someone else. So normal. But she's like, I plan to like keep milking him, like, replacing my furniture set every summer so that like he doesn't have money to marry someone else. And I'm just looking at her like, damn, I feel really sorry for this woman. Meanwhile, I'm telling her all about my student loan debt.
Yeah.
And she's like, can't even comprehend. Like, what do you mean you're in debt? What do you mean you're not a millionaire? And I'm just like telling her. And she felt so sorry for me for my student loan debt that she took off her gold bracelet and gave it to me. And I was like, no. I'm the one who feels sorry for you. Your husband is about to marry someone else.
Oh,
it's just
my God.
Perfect like encapsulation of different cultures.
She's like, no, actually, the new one watches the same shows as me, so this is going to be great.
Yeah. She's like, actually, we're going to gang up on him.
Yeah.
And convince him to get us something.
No, women have problems everywhere.
Exactly. But so my mom was telling me the story about Mary, the mother of Jesus. We just don't believe that he's the son of God, but we believe that he's
a prophet.
Yeah. And that his conception was a miracle. So my mom was like telling me, and she said she was trying to explain to me how high stakes it was for this woman to be pregnant at that time. So she's like, if you're a woman and you're not married and you get pregnant, it's a big deal. It means that you must have done something really bad. So then I was like, oh my God, like what? Like, she's like, something just really bad. I was like
anything bad.
Yeah. I was like gossiping? Yeah. She's like, yeah. So then me, for the next 2 years, I'm like, I'm not fucking gossiping about anybody.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not getting pregnant at age 7. I was like, no, I'm not doing it. Literally, my friends would gossip, and I was like, I'm not touching that shit.
Yeah.
My mom already told me. So I didn't gossip for 2 years.
That's amazing.
And then when I was 9, in the 4th grade. So here's a common thing with Islamic schools. People like my parents send their kids there to remain religious, whatever, around community, all that stuff. But then there's always one kid that was an absolute menace in public school.
Who got sent there as a punishment?
Who gets on there to repent, like as rehab.
Okay.
Who then corrupts the rest of us.
Amazing.
Because we're all ripe for the corruption.
One bad apple.
Yeah. So it was this one girl, I still remember it. It was 2 Palestinian girls, okay? One of them was named Rana. The other one was named Roba. And Rana came from public school, and Roba was kind of like already kind of like the troublemaker, and she was like ready for something like Rana. And then Rana comes one day and tells all of us, all of our parents have seen each other naked.
Gasp.
I almost fainted. No, I walked in late. They were like, all of our parents have seen each other naked. And they like, that's how they had us, like something like that. And like that they like something called sex. And I was like, what the fuck did you just say? I was like, keep my parents' name out of your fucking mouth.
Literally, you're like, are you telling me that my parents gossiped naked together? How dare you? They're
like,
angels.
That's what I said. I was like, maybe your parents did that. Mine didn't.
Yeah. Mine prayed me into existence.
Literally. So then my oldest sister comes and picks me up. She's 14 years older than me. So she would have been like in her early 20s, but she was already married at the time and she had kids. And I tell her, I'm like, oh my God, Angie, you're not even going to fucking believe what I heard today. I'm like, these fucking sluts, okay, in my class, were spreading rumors that like our parents were naked together. And she goes, and I'm like, that's crazy, right? I'm like, that's wrong. She's not saying anything. She's like, I think you should talk to your parents about this.
There's the answer.
I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
I could not. Wow. And then that's when I found out about sex.
Okay.
And me and my brother, who's 2 years older than me, would go out in like the playground, find out information, and come share it with each other. He would be like, I heard you can do it from the back. I was like, what do you mean?
That's so funny. I love that you and your brother like became like the Kinsey Institute. You're like, we're taking studies.
We're hearing data. We're collecting like survey information. Then after that, I never watched porn ever, like growing up.
For sure.
But everybody else did. But I didn't know that. Like, I sincerely believed.
Even the people that you were in school with.
Yes, I believed nobody was watching porn. Like, we just never talked about it because it's there's too much shame. But you know, if you look at the stats, number 1 porn consuming countries is like what? Turkey, Pakistan, Egypt, all the Muslim countries, baby.
Wow.
Number 1 gay porn consumption as well.
Wow.
That's what happens when you repress
Literally.
people.
Stop repressing people.
Yeah.
Or else they're going to do the thing that you don't want them to do.
Exactly.
But I heard that you were what's called the haram police.
Yes.
So can you explain what haram is to anybody who does not know what it is?
Yeah. Haram is basically the opposite of halal or halal. It just means forbidden, sinful, anything that you're not allowed to do. So in Islam, there's like minor harams and major harams. And like the major sins are alcohol, sex outside of marriage,
Murder.
and then not praying, for instance, like not doing any of the pillars.
Wait, is murder not one of them?
No, murder's definitely
Okay.
but not that it's not that important. You know what I mean, in comparison to sex.
Like that's with gossiping.
Yeah, exactly. That's with gossiping. No, of course. There's, and I want to emphasize, just because of what's happening now, like there's a verse in the Quran that says, if you kill one person, it's like you've killed all of humanity. And if you save one person, it's like you save, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. But in terms of the social enforcement, anything sexual is such a big deal. Yeah. So I was the haram police, which meant like, I was kind of like the moral police. I would run around judging people, shaming people. My best friends in high school did not tell me that they were dating, that they had boyfriends. They kept it hidden from me. My best friends.
That's
and
insane.
The whole school knew, and they would tell me, they're like, she's literally dating. And I'd ask her to her face and she'd say no. And I would see them together. Like, it was so obvious. But if they said yes, I would have been like, how could you do that? Like, you're going to hell. Like, is this just a joke to you? Like, this is haram. Like, I would. And so they just had to protect themselves.
At the time, did you have any feelings that you wanted to do any of the things that they were doing? Or was it just completely like...
I was lying to myself constantly and saying, I don't care about this. But of course, like, oh my God, my biggest dream was to have a boyfriend, or at least at that point, at least have some, like, the person that I have a crush on like me back. That would have been
so
an
nice.
Oscar award for me.
Yeah. You ended up having your first relationship at 26.
Yes.
How did you guys meet, and how did that relationship go?
Oh my God. Okay. First and ever, like, last relationship to date. I met him through mutual friends. So up until that point, I thought like that I would just have a crush on someone in the Muslim Students Association on campus, and they would like me back, and then talk to my dad, and just like headed relationship, and then we would like get married and whatever. I missed the mark on that. Everyone got married in the MSA, just like everyone gets married at birthright or what, not married, but like, sorry, hook up or whatever.
That's the goal.
Yeah. And so then, I missed that boat. So then my dad was like, okay, let me get you suitors. So he started bringing me suitors, and it was a fucking nightmare.
Really?
Yes. The last suitor he brought me was when I was 24, right before starting comedy. It was this guy who literally, he told me I'm not allowed to wear any makeup outside of the house if I'm going to marry him. And I was in like full hijab and stuff back then. And he to the point where he was engaged to someone and he broke it off because she kept wearing makeup. And and then I asked him, like, how did you come to this country? He was like, oh, my work sent me. I was like, where do you work? He was like, not sure if you've heard of it. Sephora.
What?
I know.
That's insane. But he's like, yeah, I see all the whores that come in every day, and I don't want you to be like one of them.
Literally. So that made me be like, okay, I need to start dating. I tried to, for a little bit, like, random people ask me out in the community. And then I went on a bike ride with my brother. We tried to bike from like Toronto to Niagara Falls. It was like the crazy amount of miles, not normal. We failed. We only did like 30 miles, and it was in the rain, and it was terrible. We barely trained. And then we like called my friend who was moving that day, who came with like a massive truck to pick us up with our bikes. And then that's where I met my ex.
Kind of cute.
Yeah, it was pretty cute. And then we went to Niagara Falls and we showered and stuff, and then we all just like went for a walk like around the main casino, like whatever, Rainforest Cafe, all that area. And I felt like a very strong sexual attraction to him that I never felt before, and I didn't know what that was.
Danger.
I know. And then he also felt the same way, so he like messaged me and added me on Facebook. It was like the first time also, like, first time someone was interested in me, but also more interested in me than I was in them, which I'm now realizing through like after meeting so many more men after that. But and then we just started dating, and we fell in love in like a month.
And he was religious too?
He was so interesting because he had just come from Egypt 3 years prior. And Egyptians are not really religious, but they're very cultural. And there's certain things in the culture that are way off limits, like a girl losing her virginity before marriage. So he was coming with all of that. But then he realized the Arabs in the West, like including my family, are a lot more religious than they are cultural. Because I don't know, that's just the decision they made, and I think that's how they get labeled here anyways. So then, and then especially after 9/11, so now it's like the identity. And so I think he realized to be religious is a lot more social currency. So he then like transitioned into that, but he wasn't really.
Okay.
He was not really.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of double standards he was doing with me versus the white girls that he was around.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And a real religious person like my brothers would have never done that. They would have been super traumatized, I think.
But you guys never did anything sexual with each other?
No, we did hold hands though, which was very, very haram. Like I didn't even shake men's hands because I was like, I can't even touch them.
Yeah.
We held hands, and we would like kind of cuddle. Like I would like sleep on top of him in the car if like we were watching something or whatever. But we never, one time we were in his room. I only saw his room once. And he literally like kicked me out right away. He was like, we need to leave. Yeah, I was so scared like that something was gonna happen. And then he slut shamed me so much, even though we didn't do anything.
Oy.
He had an insane amount of sexual shame. He asked me like, what is something that we would do that would cause me so much guilt that I would press like the red button to leave the relationship. And I was like, I don't know, like maybe if we had sex, like I wouldn't feel good about that, but like I also wouldn't leave the relationship.
Yeah.
And then he looked at me like I was like the whore of darkness herself.
Yeah. And you're like, you're the one who goaded me into this conversation.
Yeah. And then afterwards, he emailed me and he was like, I remember when I asked you that question and you like, well, what's the worst thing we could possibly do? And you said, if we made out. I didn't even say if we made out. I said, if we had sex. He was like, I don't know what would happen if we made out before marriage. And I don't want to know.
But had he done that with any other girls?
No. And then a few months later, he reached out to me and I found out from my friend that she's like, I saw like a friend of ours saw him in a park last week in a car with a girl making out. I know the exact thing. Oh my God. No, I have to like rewind. For my birthday, he bought me a necklace and we talk about this, me and my friend, in our 2-woman show, the one that we did in Edinburgh this summer.
Yeah, this show sounds amazing. If you want to tell everybody what it's about before going to the story, you can.
Okay, so the show is called Parallel, and it's about me and my really good friend Danielle and how we both grew up in completely different communities. She grew up Orthodox Jewish in Jersey. I grew up really conservative Muslim, and how we basically had like identical parallel upbringings through our religious communities, in what we were taught about each other too. And and how religion kind of like really left a mark on us emotionally almost in the same way. And now we're like unlearning, even healing through each other, and now experiencing kind of a lot of firsts in life like alongside each other.
Amazing.
Yeah, it really is like a lot deeper than I can even grasp right now because I'm like in it, you know what I mean?
Go to Fringe, you guys.
Yes. But we oh, I forgot what I was talking about before this.
That he got you a necklace.
Oh yes. Okay, so he got me a necklace for my birthday.
Are we impressed by my ADHD?
No, you nailed that. And I took a photo of it. Okay, so this is, keep in mind, he had never seen my hair ever because I was wearing the hijab at the time. So I took a photo like from here to here, okay, of the necklace.
Neck to décolleté.
Yeah, you can see some cleavage, little bit of like hair in the back.
Okay.
This man didn't respond all night. Okay. 6 a.m. sends me an essay shaming me, being like, how could you send me this?
What?
I wanted to kill myself. Like, okay, truly.
Oh my God.
It was actually the first time I had my first ever suicidal thought. It wasn't that I wanted to kill myself. It was, I don't deserve to live. I was like, I'm so shameful. And then after then we had that conversation about the red line. After we broke up, I went into a fucking spiral of like self-blame. Then it all led to like the sexual shame. And I would also like, when I would get very, very horny at night, I would send him like explicit, like it happened like once or twice. I would send him explicit messages where I would like say what I like envision, what we're both doing together sexually. And that I think was the most for him. That really like sent him over the edge, and he didn't know how to react. Like he almost went and like froze for like weeks. And after that, I reached the lowest I've ever reached with my relationship to my body, like sexually. I was so disgusted of myself. I was disgusted of every human around me, thinking that they could have sex and that they have sex. Like I would look at my manager in my engineering job, and I would look at my coworker and I would be like, you guys are disgusting. I can't even sit in the same room as you. I can't even talk to you. Yeah. To the point where if I was at home and I was lying down on the couch and my legs were open, I would close them.
Oh my God.
I was so disgusted of myself. Yeah. And then a month or so later was when he reached out to me, and then my friend told me that she saw him making out with someone.
You're like, you're a fucking fornicator.
Yeah. well, you're a fucking hypocrite.
And you're a hypocrite, which is worse.
Yeah, because I would have been down.
Yeah.
I would have been down.
Yeah. And you probably would have felt better about it being like, hey, we're both unlearning this thing and it's okay. And like,
right.
our bodies are important and like we deserve to have some kind of pleasure. But he
Right.
was like, you don't. I
do. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was this idea of like, whatever I met them at, they didn't want to change. So if I was like, I'm down to fuck you right now, they would have been down. But if I was like, I've never been touched ever, and that's my brand, and I'm so innocent, then they're like, well, then we're never going to touch you.
Right. I don't want to change you.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you're like, but I'm changing me.
Yes.
Like these are my thoughts.
Yes.
And those are valid too.
Right. But they couldn't handle that. They're like, no, we need stagnancy.
Yeah. Well, that sucks. I'm really sorry that he shamed you into that stuff. That it's not nice.
Yeah.
But I feel like you also had the shame internally as well
Yes.
for a while. So
Absolutely.
like, was there any, I mean, there was no talk of sex, but was there any exploration ever of your own body before you knew even what it was?
Yes. I think when I was around like maybe 15 or something, I was like rubbing myself down there, and it definitely like carried away, and I was like, oh my god, this feels so good, and it's not even haram because like there's no one else here. But I never pushed it. I never took it to orgasm. I never went to completion ever. It was just that one time. I never even repeated it. No. Then I heard my sisters talking about my sister and my sister-in-law. I heard them talking about orgasms a couple of years later, and I was like, oh, what is that? And they were like, my sister was like, if you rub yourself down there and it feels really good, like that's an orgasm. And I was like, oh my god, I think I did that one time.
Yeah.
And then my sister-in-law was like, no, if you do it alone, that's called masturbation and that's haram. And I was like, oh my god, thank you so much for telling me. I'm never going to do it again. And I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't ever until after this relationship. But I used to like, my form of like living in that sensual energy was rom-coms. It was watching The Notebook a million times.
Oh my god, we're the same.
Yeah. The sex scene in Titanic. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
just some bangers like that.
Naming the hits.
Twilight was huge for me.
Obviously.
Of course, in high school I would like run home.
Cruel Intentions.
No, I never read that.
Oh.
Is that a book?
I mean, no, it's a movie. It doesn't really hold up. But the sex scene in Cruel Intentions, it's like this guy taking Reese Witherspoon's virginity, Ryan Phillippe, and it is, my hands still tingle when I think about it. It's crazy.
Okay, I have not seen that movie.
I'm gonna send you a list.
Okay, please do. That's so many religious girls like alt porn list. It's just timestamps of movies.
Yeah. No, I was watching Knocked Up the other day, and it was, you know how they're talking about the website that they're building where it's like you can see the timestamps of when people get naked in movies?
Oh.
This is it for romance.
Yes, exactly.
I will make that. Yeah.
That would be a huge service, honestly.
All of the music that's playing in the background.
Yeah, I would never touch myself while I would watch the movies. But I definitely would feel wet.
Yeah.
So I never knew, after talking to my sisters, I was like, okay, never touching that area.
Yeah.
And then I remember, do you remember the friend who lied to me straight to my face, my best friend?
Yeah.
That she had a boyfriend?
Yeah.
She like got married and left and then came back when I was in, I think, second or third year university. And then she goes, so Salma, so casually in the car with our other friend, so Salma, have you masturbated yet? And I was like, I freaked out. I was like, oh my god, how could you ask me that?
Yeah.
That's so inappropriate. I would never, whatever. And then she was like, okay, clearly she has not changed.
Yeah.
And then I stayed in that energy for like a few years, and then I think I started listening to like Modern Love podcast. That was really big. There was one episode I think about a woman like losing her virginity at 40. Or it might have been 30 actually. But you know, you're like, whoa, that's basically 40 when you're like 20.
For sure.
And then I started hanging around Muslim girls in my master's who were masturbating, and they would
masturbating,
exactly. And they would say stuff like I would hear them telling one of my other friends, like, you got to start touching yourself, and like, so it started to become more normalized, but I still didn't see it as a possibility for me. I was like, no, I want my husband to do that.
Yeah. I mean,
So
even if you're like,
embarrassing.
I did not grow up religious at all, but I still, and I've talked about this on the podcast a lot, I had the same mindset of, I don't need to do it by myself. Like,
Right.
that's something that a guy does to you,
Yeah,
and hopefully the love of your life,
exactly.
who discovers you sleeping in a forest and kisses you awake.
Yeah, literal rom-coms.
Yeah, no, I think I heard also the ways that you would meet people is either your parents set you up,
Yeah.
or you go on a Muslim dating app, or you're just at like an event and
Yes.
somebody sees you and they fall in love with you.
Yes.
And I was like, relatable. Like, that's all I've ever wanted, is somebody just see me and fall in love with me.
Yeah, yeah,
But that doesn't happen in a lot of life.
yeah.
So like, take that idea off the pedestal, you guys.
Yeah, no, I know. It wasn't until like a producer that I was working with in Toronto last year, he was like asking me, I think he asked me once about my dating life. And then he was like, you gotta like settle down somewhere to actually meet someone, and like it's usually through work or through a project where you see someone regularly in an organic like setting, and then it builds from there. That's, I guess, how all of them met their partners.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
Yeah, you get to know someone. Ew.
Yeah, I was like, no, it has to be that someone sees you at the first time. But even when I was younger, like anybody I got to know would just friend zone me, and that's because I had terrible self-worth, never sexualized myself ever, which just was not safe to do that.
Yeah. If you can't love yourself, how is anybody else going to love you?
Exactly. And then my dad would bring me suitors and be like, why don't you want to marry him? And I'm like, the fact that someone is interested in me makes me literally want to vomit in the toilet all night.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. Anybody who's a fan of me is an idiot.
is a goblin themselves.
Like, are you okay?
Yeah.
But I used to get mad at Ben because like, I'd be like, you didn't fall in love with me just from like looking at me. And he's like, no, like I thought you were hot, but like, he's like, it took me getting to know you. And I was like, ew. And
That's
then you liked my
disgusting.
personality. You see how many bagel bites I eat? He's like, yeah, that was part of it.
Oh.
But you were hearing about masturbating from a bunch of friends, and did that lead you to want to do it again yourself? Like, how did you get from that is not me to this is something that I can do?
Well, it literally took a team of therapists.
Great.
They were like, we really think you should self-explore. It was an intervention. No, I was seriously seeing like 3 therapists at the same time after my breakup. I was not okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And 2 of them, super strong women. One of them was this Armenian agnostic therapist, and the other one was a Persian from Iran agnostic therapist. And they both were just such strong women, and they really like, it was the first time I was being empowered by such strong, like unapologetic feminine energy. You don't understand. I literally walked into therapy just a broken human. Like I didn't know who I was, zero self-trust, zero self-knowledge. I feel like I went into therapy with like truckloads of crisis and trauma, and they were just like helping me literally hit the ground running while I was still in it. I started therapy right after the breakup, after I had that first suicidal thought. I was like, I'm not okay. And that got me to therapy. And they kept telling me like, your ex, like 98% of what was appealing about him was the sexual outlet that you were looking forward to. And I could not see it for the life of me until like last week. I couldn't see just how horny I was. And now I'm like 10 million times more horny.
Amazing.
And that's what happens when you're 32-year-old.
Literally, that's what happens when you have like a latent sex. Like when I had my first orgasm, I used to say like, oh yeah, I was coming like a 14-year-old boy. And I'm like, no, you're coming like a person who just discovered coming.
Yes, exactly. So they kept telling me masturbate, but I hated it. Like it felt like a chore. It felt so daunting.
I know it's annoying when it's homework.
Yeah. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
I didn't want to admit how little I knew. And my friends got me, like, I literally have 2 copies of Come As You Are and the Vagina Bible.
They're over there.
I love. And until this day, like, I haven't read any of them. I tried to read the Vagina Bible to see where the clitoris was. I literally thought, this is what I thought. I thought like the vulva, the outer labia was the vagina. And so then the clitoris was like on the top of the outer labia. And I was like, this is the least, I don't feel any
You're
sensation.
just like rubbing your mons. You're like, this is Interesting.
Yeah, because I was looking at a fucking diagram.
Yeah.
And then in February of 2020, I flew to Vancouver to do a taping for Just for Laughs Northwest, my first ever TV taping. And they put us up in this like fancy hotel room alone. And I was there and just by myself, schedule cleared, like, you know, you're feeling pampered, whatever. And I was like, okay.
The bed's not yours. Fuck it up.
Bed's not yours. And it's massive.
Yeah.
Super comfortable. I was like, okay, I fuck the books.
Yeah.
I'm just going to see what feels good. And I'm just going to follow that. And then I did. And I approached orgasm, but I was so overwhelmed that I stopped.
I take it back.
Yeah, I was like, I was too scared to see what would happen if I went over the edge because it was already so overwhelming. And then I sent a voice note to my therapist. I was like, I don't know if I orgasmed or not, but like I
approached the bench.
Yeah, she was like, I'm so happy for you and your vagina.
Yeah.
And then, but still, her to say like your vagina a little more too explicit than I would have
don't talk about her.
Yeah, at the time.
Yeah.
No, I was like, too explicit. Like literally, it's a literal, and every Arab is like this. I'm not even joking. Like it's a literal, like bodily reaction, rejection. The shame is actually in my family our ancestral inheritance.
But I will, and I'm sure it does run deep. It's still so relatable to me.
Right.
I couldn't say vagina really until like starting this podcast.
Right.
And I'd only say it because I was like, it's the medical term. Because I'm not going to say pussy.
Right.
That's
right.
disgusting.
Right. No, truly, like I have friends who are like pussy power and like call your pussy and open your pussy, and I'm like,
shut up.
I know it's still too much. It's still too much for me. Meanwhile, in Arabic, is there a word for vagina? I don't think it exists. I think there was one woman in Lebanon. She's like a sex educator, and I met her last year. And she, I think, said it in her video. And then she went and did an interview, and they all berated the shit out of her. And they're like, and it was the women. Oh my God, that's the saddest part.
Yeah.
Who were like, I can't believe you said that disgusting word. And like, what a joke you are and whatever. And I'd never seen like social stoning like that.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Well, that's the worst thing is that like the people who are being oppressed by the thing carrying out said oppression on other people because like it was you being haram police
exactly
when like you're policing yourself at the same time instead of just being like we should all kind of just be free.
That's too scary.
That's too scary. I know. But wait, so you tried in February.
Yes.
Did you try again in February as well? Because if we both came in February of our 28th year and we're both Virgos, Hallie, we're not sisters, we're twins.
That's so funny. No, I don't think I masturbated till March.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
It was when the pandemic started.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that was a great time to learn.
And quite quickly after, I got a vibrator. Like almost a week after.
Amazing.
And it was a clitoral one, not a vaginal one.
Yeah.
But it was incredible.
Do you remember the feeling of the first orgasm?
Yes, it was so overwhelming. And then I did stop right away because it just was too sensitive and like I couldn't like continue. And I kept doing that. But then I was like, I guess confused because a lot of them were mini like orgasms.
Yeah. And
so I didn't fully know if I was orgasming or not. And I thought that I had to continue through the orgasm to get to like a bigger one. And then my sister, I remember, told me, the same one who told me what an orgasm was, told me like, you're orgasming. Like, yeah, that sounds like it is. And then I was like, oh, okay. Like I no longer have anything to prove. And then I started having fun. Then I started watching porn actually. So I tried for the first time in February, and then in the beginning of March, I went to this like town 3 hours west of Toronto, close to London, Ontario. And I did a getaway for myself, like a 5-day getaway or whatever. And I didn't plan it. But while I was going there, I took the hijab off for the first time in my life.
Whoa.
Yeah. I went outside for the first time without it.
Oh my God.
I know, it was crazy. I was like, finally, I'm going to be anonymous. No one's going to know who I am. No one's going to know I'm Muslim. I don't have to carry this like burden. And then I go outside and literally everyone is blonde. And I'm like, damn it. I'm still the person of color.
Did it feel liberating? Did it feel weird? Was it
felt
like a mix?
Nothing. And
it felt like nothing.
It felt like I was robbed. Like my whole life in Islamic school, I'm told you're a lollipop women are lollipops, women are candies, and you have to wrap yourself up to protect yourself from the flies.
If that wasn't so cute.
If a lollipop drops on the floor, which one do you think a man is gonna pick? The one that's covered or the one that isn't? It's just a question for you, Remy.
How gross is this man?
How much of a freak is
How
this
much is
man?
a freak?
That's a good answer.
Does he like a little flavor to
Yeah.
his lollipop?
But that's what they would tell us. So I'm out here thinking like, damn, y'all are right. And they're like, you guys are beautiful. I remember I had a teacher in high school tell me like 75% of a woman's beauty is in her hair. I don't know where she got that number, but I was like, I believe you. and like all these things about how we're so stunning. And like, I used to make jokes like people say whenever someone says that I'm hot, I'm like, or I'm hot, I'm like, I'm even hotter without it. And I'm like, when people call me pretty, I'm like, you fool, you haven't even seen me in my final form. Like I used to say all these jokes.
Yeah.
And then I take it off and no one gives a fuck. And I was like, excuse me, why isn't everybody throwing themselves at my feet?
Yeah.
The hijab is a barrier to entry. I've removed the barrier.
Come get it.
Yeah.
Where are the flies?
No one gave a fuck. I was like, I was expecting a swarm.
Yeah.
A swarm of flies.
At least like a gnat. Where are you? You know what reminds me of is like when you get out of a long-term relationship and like when you're in the relationship, you're like, everybody wants this. And then you break up and it's like, no.
Yeah, you're like, oh, damn.
Oh,
People are
it's
actually
cold out here.
It's exactly what it was. And on that trip, I watched porn for the first time. But I didn't touch myself because I was on my period and I was also still unlearning.
Yeah.
The first thing I watched was the Kim Kardashian sex tape.
Oh my God.
I was like, finally, I've been curious about this.
Yeah.
I've been holding off for years.
Wait, okay, so you've heard about this stuff from like friends and also like you've spoken to your sisters. Like, are they still religious or they're just more comfortable talking about it within the religion?
So they're very religious. It's
Okay.
only one sister that's comfortable talking about it. My sister-in-law like shut it down basically. But it's one sister, and her and I have always had kind of like a less conventional, more of like a friendship because growing up, my dad cut her off for 8 years because she married a Pakistani Muslim, and my family was just simply racist at the time. Yeah. And every time, so when like Arab supremacy, a very real thing in the Muslim community.
People don't realize that there is racism within groups that aren't theirs.
Yes.
There's colorism in so many different communities.
Colorism across the board everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's what dictates the discrimination and the racism. Oh my God, racism in Egypt is terrible. And in my family, and my whole family in Egypt, my extended family members all called out my dad. They're like, aren't you so religious? So he's Muslim. So what's the issue? But and then my sister went behind his back. So basically I didn't know her growing up. I was 7 at the time.
Okay.
And then when my family reconciled with her, I was 15. So I went from like literally looking up at her to like looking down at her literally because I had grown.
Yeah.
And she is the one who like basically had to develop a friendship with me. She couldn't be like my other sister who was like entitled to me or like thought I was her daughter
To
or
raise
whatever.
you. Yeah.
So we've always kind of had like this alti type of relationship within the family. Even till this day, I'm estranged from my whole family, and she's the only one that I have some contact with.
Yeah.
And we're trying to go to therapy together.
That's nice to have her.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think she's probably one of the reasons why you could get out of your people pleasing, because you're like, even if I do get estranged, like they brought her back eventually.
Well, they brought her back under their terms. She had to apologize, and she was willing to do anything, and kind of lowered her status, to be honest with you.
Did she end her marriage with him?
She did, but because she wanted to. Even though like
Okay.
she asked my dad, if you want to, like I would be willing, but my dad was like, no, you already have like kids and stuff. But she ended up leaving him after 18 years of marriage. Now she's remarried. She's married to a white guy. He converted. He's great. He's like literally probably the best person in my family. I was like, I hate this. I was like, do you know how off-brand it is for me to love a straight white man? But I can't deny it. He's just such a good guy.
The good ones are really nice.
I know. He's so nice. Yeah, he's super supportive. Really, really loves my sister. But yeah, I will never go back on their terms. I can't.
Yeah. No, you're doing too well without it.
Yeah. And it's incompatible with my body, with my spirit, truly.
Yeah. Okay. So back to your body. I hate going from family to bodies, but sometimes we have to do it.
Seamless transition.
So you had your first orgasm. You got the vibrator.
Yes.
And then I think your first sexual encounter was with a girl?
Yes.
How did that come about?
Okay. This was October 2020. My best friend at the time. Okay. We were best friends for 5 years. Like as soon as you wake up, we call each other type of best friends. This is so funny, and this is another like feature of like the religious community, because religious communities can be very, very, very homophobic, or almost not even that, like homo blind. It actually becomes a safe space for queer people within the community, because
Hilarious.
You would never suspect it, and you just let it go because it's not a big deal. So this girl, for the last 5 years, every time, like let's say she just met you, she'd be like, hi, nice to meet you, Remy, and immediately her hand would be on your boobs. I'm not joking.
Okay.
She would have, and then her other hand would be on your ass. Always does this, always feels people up, gropes them, catches everyone off guard, really shocks them.
Problematic.
She loves it. She's also like half white, but she speaks Arabic perfectly. So she like embodies every type of privilege, and she's also very beautiful, super long, gorgeous hair. So everyone just allows her to get away with everything.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So no one ever batted an eye that this girl just literally gropes all of us.
That's insane.
No one suspected anything. So then one day she's sleeping over at my apartment. I was living in downtown Toronto alone at the time with my cat, and it was the apartment that I lived in till I moved here. And she spent the night, and she just like, I remember like took it too far. She was like, okay, lie down, like I'm gonna do something, but like don't laugh. And then she started like kissing me like down my body, and I guess I really liked it. Like I was super horny, and at that point my sexual, I didn't know what it was, but my sexual identity, I still don't really know, but
yeah,
I identified as I identified as like, I'll take what I can get.
Yeah.
That is safe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that is accessible to me. And so she starts doing that, and I just didn't stop her. And she started like kissing my breasts, sucking on them, and I just remember being like, I could not believe what was happening. And then she kept being like, oh my God, this is so hot. I'm like, oh my God, this is so hot. I can't believe I'm doing this. But then she would do it and then just be like, no. And then she was going through her own major like homophobic episode, internalized homophobia, because she was like, I want dick, like I want a guy. But then she would like literally come and kiss me, and then like, it was so,
that's very confusing.
Yeah. And then she asked to finger me. I said okay, and then she put her finger in, and that was the first time anything ever went inside my vagina, and it was a searing pain. It was unbearable. Oh my God, it hurts. I didn't know though, and then she stopped, but then she still like rubbed me off, and then I came. But isn't that,
we're like not in but on?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then she did not let me top her. Isn't that interesting? And I didn't like that. And I was trying to, because I was like, I had to be vulnerable and you couldn't.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to tell my friends this the next day, 2 of them, without telling them who it was because they know her. And so I made them believe it was a guy, and they were so confused why I was upset.
You were like, he wouldn't let me finger him. They're like, is he trans? No, he's with a penis. And
no,
and I really wanted to finger him.
They thought I was saying like he went down on me and would not let me go down on him.
Yeah.
And they were so confused.
Why would you want to do that? But some people really like doing it, and some people could be upset just because they're like, well, I had my genitals in your face. You didn't put yours in mine.
Yeah, I thought it was like we need to both put the same vulnerability on the table.
Exactly.
Like I felt like you, and then the next day, oh my God, worst shame of my fucking life.
Oy.
Terrible. Every time anything happens with a girl, always terrible shame afterwards. It's getting less and less.
Okay.
And then with men, nothing. I hate it. It's so internal. It's just, I'm just witnessing. I am simply witnessing. And the shame is insane after women. And then with men, it's like, fine.
But are you able to enjoy sex with men?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not like a disassociating thing that you're just like going through the motions. Okay.
It's like a guilt shame thing. Like,
okay.
But it's so embedded. It's so embedded.
Yeah.
And yeah, so after that, I felt crippling amount of shame the next morning. And I asked her to I wanted to talk about it, and she did not want to. She was like, can we pretend it didn't happen? And the whole thing was terrible, but I didn't know what was happening. Now I can tell like that was actually not a safe space because of how she handled it. Yeah. And then we broke up. We didn't talk for months after, almost maybe a year.
Broke up as friends. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it was because of something else stupid, but it obviously was because of this.
Yeah.
And then now we're back to being friends, and she actually started to tell some people about it. Mm-hmm. And she tells me that she identifies as bi, maybe, but like won't tell anybody else.
Did she apologize for the nature of how it went down?
Yeah. Okay, great. Of course. Yeah. And so funny, like she'll be like, I can't come. And then I'm like, yeah, because you're dating a man and you're a lesbian. And then she's like, no, I'm bi, not lesbian.
Yeah.
That's what she says. And then I met her boyfriend. He's a gay man. I'm like, all right, whatever you guys have to do to keep lying to yourselves, I guess. Every time I go to Mississauga, I'm like, oh, everyone is still in the same place. My friend is like, people are still in Mississauga emotionally.
Yeah.
Like, truly.
It's like Brigadoon.
What's that?
It's okay. This is like the most niche thing in the entire world. I don't know why I ever bring up Brigadoon to anybody. It's a old musical.
Okay.
I think it's set in Scotland. Shout out to Fringe. And this town pops up every 100 years. So somebody can like go visit it. But like then it goes away. So it's like Brigadoon. It's just like it's the same thing all the time. 100 years later, every time you go back, you're like, oh, they're still singing Bonnie Jean. Great.
Yeah, literally. In the Mississauga version is like everyone's still trying to marry like their neighbor or like the guy down the street.
Yeah.
And that's the pinnacle of life here.
And the right person.
Yeah, exactly.
Right is in quotes.
Yeah.
And did you come from your experience with her?
Yeah, I did actually.
Cool. Mm-hmm. But also a weird feeling.
Yeah, I still feel this way now, but like, especially back then, I did because I couldn't name it too. I felt like you opened up Pandora's box, or like you opened up a hunger in me. Mm-hmm. And now we can never do that again.
Yeah.
And it just felt so cruel.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the guy being like, what would you do to me? And then you're like this. And he's like, I can't talk to you for 5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I hate those people. But they're fine. Whatever. They're working on their own shit.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. So, but you discovered your vaginismus then?
So yes, that was the first time I ever felt the searing pain, but I never tried it again. And so I had this suspicion that maybe I have something like vaginismus, and I had heard about it before.
Yeah.
But I decided, I was like, no. It's just that I'm not like married. It's just that I'm not like whatever.
We're not open for business yet.
Yeah, we're not open for business yet.
Yeah.
It just felt way too overwhelming to even broach it. Mm-hmm. Until a few months later, I was like, I want to do a podcast, and I still plan to do it. Mm-hmm. Like called like The Secret Sex Lives of Muslim Women, and like what they go through. And I'm sure they go through all the same shit that everybody else goes through. Like,
sex lives of college girls, but it's all Muslim women.
Exactly. All Muslim women. Yeah. And the Muslim women, because of all the shame, we're told also religiously never to talk about the bedroom and like your man or whatever. So we don't talk about it, and then you don't know what's happening. You don't know if your rights are being abused or not. Mm-hmm. You don't know like if like you could be growing or learning. Like there's no discourse, there's no discussion. So I wanted to bring women on anonymously, and I wanted the first episode to be about vaginismus, because I'd heard about it from other people. And then I interviewed this one woman. Her story is crazy. She was actually in New York, and she's Muslim Arab, and she discovered that she had vaginismus because she tried to put a tampon in, could not. Ended up getting referred to like this specialist Jewish doctor in New York who he does like kind of almost like a Botox or something, like muscle relaxant to your vagina. It's like a
or your
procedure.
like pelvic floor,
something like that. Yes, for your pelvic floor, and then it loosens up. And he was the only doctor at the time who was doing this procedure, and he said vaginismus #1 in Orthodox Jewish women.
I'm not surprised.
And I was like, oh my god, we're the same.
No, it's like any religious extreme. It's like Orthodox women, hyper religious Catholics.
Yes.
You know, anything where there's like some kind of shame around sex.
Yeah.
Not that I think vaginismus only comes from shame. I think it can just be in your body.
Yeah, I think it could be in your body. I think also, of course, assault or violence.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I was never ever assaulted. And when the Me Too movement happened, I was shocked to see how I was almost the only one who was not, until like a couple of years. Don't worry. Until last year. Until I joined him. Until whatever, like, you know, but
Welcome to the club, and I'm sorry.
I know, thank you. It's like, but I'm so much more grateful to have the awareness and the agency that I have now to know, and like the bounce back that you have at this age versus like if you were a kid. That
for sure
type of shit would have destroyed me probably. But I did grow up with a mom who always told me, and I discovered this one night when I did ayahuasca in Cairo in October. I traced like the origin of my sex education, which is that I never had till this day. And my mom just would tell me when I was really little, like, sex is bad, sex is haram, sex is only within marriage, sex is only with your husband, sex is a chore, only men like it, women don't like it. If your husband, this is a very fucked up saying of Prophet Muhammad that a lot of Muslims take out of context to abuse their wives. And it says, it's a hadith, like a saying by the Prophet that says, if your husband asks you to go to bed with him and you say no, the angels will curse you till the morning. And so men tell their wives that to force them to sleep with them. Until women started being like, let the angels curse me till the morning. That's between me and my God. Fuck you.
Yeah.
And until women started contextualizing it and being like, God was saying, oh, don't hold sex against your husband. Like, I'm not going to sleep with you until you like fix the light bulb. Like that kind of.
For sure.
That's so people started to actually talk about the nuance. But my mom believed that shit. And my dad, I think, used that shit on her.
That sucks.
And so, yeah. So I think like I realized like I must have felt that from her, like, and carried it with her.
And it came up during the ayahuasca journey?
Yes, this last one. And I purged from my mom, like on behalf of all the sexual violence that she must have gone through. And it was like a movie. I was like, for my mother, and then I like purged into the bucket.
Oh my God.
And then I like blew her a kiss. I was like, I hope you feel lighter in your body. But she's not talking to me, so
maybe she does feel lighter.
Yeah.
And maybe it should be a movie. Sounds like a good scene.
Yeah.
But I think that's just going back to the people who have been oppressed or people who have had terrible shit happen to them, oppressing people further. It's like, listen, I went through this thing, so you have to too.
Absolutely. Yeah. My mom, of course, she would tell us that all the time. And I remember asking her like about masturbation, and she was disgusted to even hear about that. And so that made me very disgusted, not just of sex, but of people. Yeah. My mom made me disgusted of people.
Yeah, because you're like, I know some people are doing this. Yeah. Like, I hate being on earth with all of you.
And also, like, for you to imagine yourself, like, that's what I saw in the ayahuasca, was me imagining this one girl, in Toronto that like I went home with after a party. We never had sex, but she really wanted to. I was on ecstasy. I was very emotional. We just like cuddled, but
play with each other's hair.
Yeah, literally.
Like, wow, everything feels so nice.
Yeah, exactly. She wasn't on ecstasy, but I was.
Yeah.
But she like I think I saw her in the vision, and I was so disgusted by her like ravenous energy or her ravenous look that she would like want to consume me. And I was like, I'm so disgusted of you, but because I want to receive pleasure, I will let you pleasure me. But I find any human being in this context disgusting. Like, yeah, just a severe repulsion of intimacy.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, again, relatable. Like, if I ever heard about guys that would go down on girls, I was like, ugh. Even though I'm like, I want that to happen to me so badly.
Right.
But like, you're clearly like a trash pile.
Right.
Which this is not true. It just is like such a barrier to like letting yourself like have a good time.
Yeah, especially also like it was criminal to be like remotely sexualized in my household.
Yeah.
I wore high heels. This is traumatic. Also in our show, I wore high heels in the 10th grade to that friend, the one who lied to me's engagement. She got engaged in the 10th grade. Isn't that nuts?
That's wild.
Her parents made her break up with that dude and then got her engaged to someone like 10 years older than her. Disgusting, but my sister had also gone through the same thing, so not that far off in the community.
Oh my god.
So I go to her engagement. I'm wearing high heels and like the most Islamic halal outfit ever. My dad freaks the fuck out, literally almost crashed the car on the way home, calling me a prostitute the whole way. As soon as we got home, he took my high heels, brand new, that me and my mom had just bought the day before for like $300 on sale for half, and then cut them with a scissors.
Jesus.
And we're screaming in the background.
Yeah.
And then fast forward a few years, I'm in engineering and I start an internship at IBM and I'm making money for like a year and a half, not doing anything. So I just buy myself
because
clothes.
She has a master's in what?
Engineering.
Wow.
And then I disappointed my family and I was like, bye. Bye to both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The good girl and
the smart girl.
Yeah, and the smart girl, exactly. Yeah. And so basically I started buying myself clothes, heels, and I would just like lose my heels and I would be like, what? Where did I put them? Did I leave them in the car? I don't know. And then at the end of my university, my dad comes home one day, opens the trunk of his car, pulls out a bag and drops it on the floor. It's all my heels.
What?
And I was like, oh my God. Okay, first of all of them are out of style now.
Yeah.
Second of all, I have back issues. Like this, there's only a small window that one can wear heels. And you stole that from me.
See, I would be thinking if I had an upbringing like that and my heels kept disappearing, I'd be like, God keeps taking my heels.
No, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. That's a given. But it was just so many of them.
That's insane. Wait, can we get back to vaginismus too?
Yes.
So how did you get past, I mean, it's like a forever thing, but like how did you kind of ease yourself through it?
Okay, so this then begins my sexual journey. So first of all, this girl, when she tells me about this whole
your sexual journey has already begun.
That's true. Okay, but I guess the hunt for like penetrative
dick.
For dick. Specifically for dick. So she tells me even after this woman on the podcast, even after she does the surgery with this Jewish god, okay, he still at the end of it tells her, here's a dilator set, the rest is psychological, good luck.
Oh my God.
So we still in the same boat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she tells me that, and she says she had to work through the dilator set, blah, 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 and she tells me about it. So then I'm like, okay, let me get this dilator set just in case. So I get the dilator set. I try to put the smallest one in, which would have been like maybe like this big, like this thin.
Like an inch and a half.
Yeah.
Size of a teen tampon.
Yes, exactly. Size of a small tampon. Try to put that in. Searing pain. She's teaching me how to breathe in and contract, exhale and release, like you're trying to pick up a marble with your vagina. She's teaching me all these things. The fact that I even went to a pelvic floor physiotherapist, I was already seeing one because I had a lower back disc bulge in my spine that almost literally paralyzed me for a full year. Like I couldn't even stand for more than like 10 seconds. Yeah, and she was really great. She figured it out. Every other practitioner I went to couldn't. So in addition
Don't you love
to
that?
I know. I love when there's a smart one, when someone like...
No,
really,
but like also when a bunch of smart people are just like, we don't know.
or they tell you it's something and you're like, it's not this.
Yeah.
And you know it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, she knew right away. And then I actually went to like Western medicine and they were like, it's a disc bulge. And I was like, why didn't I just do this in the beginning? But you gaslight yourself and they gaslight you in the ER. Anyways, so I just told her like, by the way, I think I might have vaginismus and like, I bought the dilator set. She's like, oh, perfect. She's like, let's try it. She puts it in and she's like, oh yeah, classic case of vaginismus. I was like, oh, me? and then like we start the whole thing of, she's like, just keep practicing. And she told me, if you get in this smallest one, everything else will be easy. Like it's just the first one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just tried for like a whole year and maybe even more. And then when I got the vibrator, that helped because it would like distract me almost.
Yeah.
And then like loosen me up and stuff.
Have an orgasm, pop it in.
Yeah.
Secretly.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, I'm feeling so loose.
No, seriously. And then I got the biggest one in and I was like, okay, like I'm feeling good, but now I'm scared about like actually going into the field.
Field study.
It's scary.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're gonna see out there.
The dilators aren't their full size when you meet them.
Exactly. The dilators feel different in real life. I don't know. They change matter.
Yeah.
They literally go from like a liquidy solid to a solid.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you just changed matter.
No, they're insane. I still don't fully understand.
They're like their own entity.
I'm like, you're telling me blood made this brick? That's insane.
Blood made this velvet brick.
Yeah.
That was another thing for me. I was like, it doesn't have hair? Oh, I had never even seen one.
You thought there was hair on the shaft?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only encountered one hairy shaft. They do exist.
Really?
Yeah. But no, they're mostly just like a hat.
I was surprised.
Yeah.
So first time I think the first time I had a kiss 2 weeks before my 30th birthday in a club in Cancun. It was a girl. She came up to me and said something so sexy in Spanish and I was like, what? And then she was like, she's like, I want to kiss you. And then I was like, okay. And then she kissed me. 5 seconds later, a guy was joining our kiss. I was like, oh, can't we have anything? Then later that night, I was grinding on this one dude and we kissed for sure, but that I felt his dick. Okay, first time I ever felt a penis. It was a really big penis. And then I think a month later, this Egyptian guy came over and we were like making out and he pulled out his dick. So first time seeing one.
Wow.
This was like November of 2020, and he asked me to go down on him. I said no, and he said in Arabic, he was like, oh, you don't want to kiss him? You don't want to give him a kiss? But in Arabic, he was
like, no, I just met him.
I was like, no way.
I don't know anything about him or his preferences. What's his sign?
I'm still scared of him.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I like him, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
So but then I remember touching it. I remember giving him a little bit of like a hand job, and being like, whoa, okay, interesting feeling. And then it wasn't until beginning of December, that me and my best friend at the time, who I was in love with for like a year and a half, decided to attempt to have sex.
Oh, wow.
I attempted to have sex with 3 guys and my vagina just spit them out. It was like a Coke bottle, like those glass ones that you like shove like something, if you like roll up something, you shove it inside and it like pops it out.
Okay.
That was my vagina. It was spitting out dicks.
At my first attempt, my vagina didn't spit it out, but I was in so much pain that I took my foot like this. And I put it on his shoulder and I pushed him out of me because I was like, absolutely not. This is insane.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's why I think it's so funny when people are like, the first time I attempted, I'm like, oh, yeah. I also did that.
Yeah, I think probably every woman, no?
Yeah.
Maybe like...
Not everyone, but a lot of people.
Okay, yes.
And that's not talked about enough.
Yeah.
So look at us.
Look at us, both attempting to get the dick.
Given the real college try.
So I tried with those 3 guys, spit it out. Actually, with the second guy, it was a one night stand. His dick was the biggest I've ever seen in my life. Literally, like
Final dilator.
It was out of this world, like the extreme pro kit that I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
I was like, where is that gonna go? In me? I was like, all of that in me?
You're like, where? I have organs. It's not gonna fit.
Literally, he shoved it in, like put my legs up really high, shoved it in because I also wanted just like, let's do it, let's get it in.
I'm done with the attempt. But
it was just tearing. I just bled. Yeah.
Oh.
And then after that, I was like, okay, I have to listen to my body.
Yes.
So yeah, third guy spit it out, didn't work, didn't even try. At this point, I don't really have a concept of foreplay. Also, at this point, I don't want to kiss anybody. I tell everybody I would rather have sex with you than kiss you because kissing is so intimate.
You're like Julia Roberts.
Literally, all my friends are like, are you a prostitute? I was like, no, I just can't explain it.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay.
It's Pretty Woman vibes.
Exactly. So then it wasn't until I went to Egypt and I met that guy that I actually had sex.
The guy from your stand-up.
Yes.
From when I ran up to you. And
the hero
was, because you were saying that you didn't have concept of a foreplay like at the time. Like,
yes.
I feel like that's super common for people who are like, I just want to get it over with.
Yeah.
And it's like foreplay is the most important thing that could get your attempts into real it working. So did you guys do any foreplay, or you were still just...
Me and the Egyptian guy?
Yeah.
Yes. So Egyptian guys, I find, are actually very good at foreplay because most Egyptian women won't have sex with them before marriage. It's the only thing available to them is literally everything other than penetrative sex. Mm-hmm. So they're actually very like down for that. So he was like, we did some foreplay, so he was just like kissing me, and then like I was really into it. I also approached him. I'm the one who initiated, so I was the one who like had my eyes on him, and then I knew that he thought that I was like a sex goddess because I'm an American,
North American Canadian. Yeah,
I'm here alone. I live alone in New York, away from my family. I'm in my 30s. In his mind, he's like, she's been fucking everybody for like decades. Yeah. So I could put on this show.
This is an acting assignment. You're like, I am her.
Exactly.
Amazing.
And I did that. I was like moaning and screaming for the first time. I never would have done that with like other guys. I gave myself the permission to express myself in like so many ways, and I knew that he was intimidated by me, and that was the first time I had ever been in a dynamic in bed like that, because it was always me so intimidated, me the one who's new, and these guys, like, I'm looking to them for guidance, and a lot of them are fucking assholes who just want to like hit it and quit it basically, or whatever.
You're like, no, I want to hit it and quit it. Actually, my flight is tomorrow.
Yeah. I was leaving the next morning. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. There's someone who told me one day that she was like, the best thing that you can say to somebody on a night out is like, this is my last night in town, even if it's a lie. Yeah. It's like a really good pickup line. Yeah. They're like, oh my God, let's have a big romantic night. Let's do everything. Yeah. And then you came with that guy.
Yeah, he made me come first when we hooked up. He made me come first, and then he pulled out his dick, and I was like, oh, where did that come from? And then I gave him a hand job, and I just kind of naturally knew that the tip was very sensitive, and I was following that, and then based on his reactions, I was like enhancing that. And then
Are Muslim guys circumcised?
Yeah, all of them.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's circumcised, but it was very thick. Egyptian guys are realizing have girth very thick.
It's like a pyramid. Jesus.
Oh my god. Yeah, and then he came on my stomach, and that was my first time seeing a man come.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Did you look at the face or the dick during?
That's a good question. I think the dick, definitely. I was like, science,
Yeah.
biology, anatomy.
Oh my God. It really is a beautiful thing watching them just bleh.
And then the way they like desperately want you to like clean it after. So not clean it, but like they just take care of you after. Like
They
they're
take
just
care
like,
of you. Yeah.
my children are on your body.
Yeah. Let's put them in a nice soft cloth.
Let's get them off you immediately.
Yeah.
To the point where I'm like, why? You don't want to get me pregnant?
No.
What's the problem?
You guys go in the pool. Mommy and daddy are naked. You're not supposed to know that for a few more years.
Yeah, exactly. Until your 4th grade Islamic school.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, so just re-vaginismus, congratulations for getting past it.
Thank you so much.
It's like a very, again, forever thing for a lot of people.
It is. Even with me, it still comes up. Like,
For sure.
I tried to hook up with someone in Fringe, and No. I immediately knew right away. I was like, sorry, my body's just not ready. I don't know you that well. I just met you yesterday. Also, you don't have lube. You haven't gone down on me. Sorry.
Yeah. But you told a story on another podcast that one of your friend's sisters couldn't consummate her marriage for 3 years because of vaginismus.
Yeah.
That is so wild.
I know.
Like, to me, it's wild that you even knew the term before you had it, because I feel like a lot of people, they're like, oh, I'm just tight.
Right.
Like, what did she ever get out of it?
Actually,
or did she ever work on it?
I don't know, because they divorced and now she's seeing someone and I think they're about to get married, but I don't know if they've tried to have sex before her getting married or if she's gonna wait till after. But I guess we'll find out like this year.
Yeah.
But I think a big part of it was that her ex was just kind of an asshole. Like, I don't think she felt fully safe with him. I don't think he had the patience for her. And that's like the least encouraging thing ever.
Yeah. But sometimes it's like your body's keeping you safe.
Yes, 100%. I thought that too. Like, I was like, my body, now I'm like, I have to read my vagina. If she's ready for you, okay. If she's not, I'm so sorry. And I literally tell guys before, like, I might need to hang out with you 3 times before I'm even comfortable enough to kiss you.
And that's fine.
Yeah. Like, but some of them say it's fine and then no, they try and escalate it right away in the moment. And then I enter a state of panic, or I enter a state of wanting to not ruin the mood, and then either getting mad at myself for like pushing myself before I was ready, or calling the whole thing off and then they're mad. But it's like, well, why did you rush me then?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And still, though, that person's not the right person. Like, if she had gotten pregnant by that guy, it's like, okay, then she's stuck with that guy. Not necessarily. You can always get divorced. But like, I think your body is something that like, it's there to listen to. Exactly. Like, you're not just a brain. Like, your body is also like, no, we have our best interest at heart too. Exactly. Yeah. And also, like, it's so wild that you come from a place of having had a relationship where you guys only held hands. Yeah. You know, and even though that guy was coming from like a more, I guess, cultural angle. Yeah. Like, you know that I am worth taking time with. Right. You know? Right. Yeah. I also dropped so many standards out of a desperation to start living my life, and out of wanting to distance myself as much as possible from my old life and from religion. So, you know, while my parents put up a billion barriers to even get to know me, you have to be religious, you have to have a good job, make a certain amount of money, be from like a certain ethnicity, be religious, be like all these things before, and then our parents have to get along, and then they have to like approve of the status that they know each other of in Egypt, and all this shit that like I came out of it being like, and then on top of that, it's like our own barriers, like we can't touch, we can't kiss until marriage, we can't do any of this shit, don't whatever. I was like, enough.
no to everything.
Yeah.
Like everything is out the window. I'm gonna have sex with whatever feels right. I'm gonna do whatever I want. But then I realized I wasn't just doing whatever I wanted. I was rushing milestones because I just felt so insecure. I felt so behind. I felt like what a waste of fucking time all of this was. Like I was just going through so much. And I still am, like, just grieving a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's never like, you're never going to have a good experience rushing yourself into something.
Exactly. But for me, I was like, and still to this day, I'm like, you mean we just have to wait for sex?
Yeah. You just have to wait for someone to be nice to you. Like, you have your own boundaries now that it's like, the person has to be nice to me.
Yes.
I have to like them.
Yes.
And like, that also takes time.
That takes so much time. That's so rare.
Yeah.
And for them to be willing to pursue you and for them to be willing to like treat you according to your standards. And oh my God, yeah. And I guess when I finally was like, okay, I'm just like giving up, not giving up, but just kind of like, I know that I don't want the alternative. I would rather be alone and masturbate than like have someone hurt me. Like, so I tried to hook up with a guy in Fringe and vaginismus kicked in again. I couldn't do it.
The other boundary.
Yeah, my body's like,
Yeah.
we're not ready for this and no entry.
I don't approve.
It's not happening. Then his best friend came here to New York and then we tried to hook up. This was like a couple of months, no, maybe like 3 or 4 months after. And he was fingering me and I didn't want anything with him. I wanted to actually hook up with his friend. I did not want to hook up with him, but he was so like, giving me so much attention that I was like, fine, like better than nothing.
Yeah.
And then he was fingering me and my body was like, I was stinging the whole time. My body was like rejecting it and I was like, I didn't want it, and I literally kept being like, yes you do, this is what you want. And I was trying to override her. And then immediately the next day I bled.
Oy.
As soon as same with that dude, the one who shoved his dick in the massive one, I bled the entire next day, and his was the worst. I bled for the next day and then I got a yeast infection.
Of course.
Oh my God. Soon after that I was like, holy shit. Oh, my body reacts. Like if I don't listen to it, it will react.
Yeah. And like, I think we keep saying like, oh, like it's better than just being alone. No,
it's not.
Just being alone can be the fucking best thing in the entire world.
Yes.
Being with somebody who you're like, I've known this person my whole life. She's great. She likes me more now.
Yeah.
Because of the therapy.
Right.
But she knows me. We're safe with me. Like, I feel like masturbation is a gift that like so many female bodied people are like kept from because we think it's not for us. Right. And it's like, yeah, of course they told us that it's better with a guy because they want us to do it with a guy.
I know.
But it's so fun to be alone.
It's so fun and it's so healing. Like I started doing mirror work too, where I like look at my vagina for 10 minutes in the mirror. It's so beautiful. Even when I met that sex expert or doctor or whatever I was telling you about in Lebanon who got like butchered for saying the word vagina. Yeah. She told me she tells her clients to look at their vagina regularly for like a month and to draw it. And she said in the beginning they
better
draw
diagrams than the one that you were learning from.
Oh my god, yeah, seriously. And she told me that the first time they draw it, it's like it looks really terrible and disgusting or whatever, and then by the end it's like it looks like a butterfly or like a flower, like so
Georgia O'Keeffe shit.
Yes, yeah. Oh, I just loved that so much. But yeah, after that hook up with that dude, and that was before this guy that I'm like hanging out with, that's when I for sure confirmed nothing is actually better.
Nothing's better. Yeah. And so there is a guy right now.
Yeah, so I'm like, I had sex for the second time ever. Thank you so much. Last week.
Worst high five ever.
Last week, today actually. I know, and it was amazing.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you so much. I text him that, he would block my number. That's so funny. And I'm much hornier than him. He's also much busier than me. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm just twiddling my thumb on my couch waiting for sex. That's how I spend my whole day.
I mean, I guess that's the foreplay.
Right? And then I'm like, why the fuck are you not fucking me every night? Like the fact that I just have to wait. I'm dying. I'm literally like, I just have to wait. That's it. Like that's what the rush was to rush to just waiting. Yeah. Oh well, Bellesa sent me a bunch of toys. So
oh great.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bellesa, a nice Canadian company.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
They there was a small one. I used that actually with him last week, and let me tell you, small but deadly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Their vibrators are great, and it was my first time orgasming with a dick inside of me.
Unreal.
Oh.
You're making leaps and bounds.
It was amazing. It was so overwhelming. I already like scream and moan, but in that moment I was like, is a hyena giving birth? Like who's making that sound?
You're like, anybody who's ever called me loud, you don't even know.
Yes.
You don't even know.
And then he was like containing me while I was literally losing my shit. And I was like, oh, this is like
It's hot.
male, masculine and feminine energy at play. Like textbook.
Yeah. Did he muffle you?
No, he didn't. Oh my God, that would have been really
It's
nice.
like a little hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And now we're going back from sex to family. Gotta love these transitions.
Isn't it crazy how like sex is so fucking politicized, criminalized? Like,
Yeah.
it's everything.
Yeah. You and your family aren't talking now.
Yeah.
So they're not supportive of your comedy career.
No.
And do you have anybody in your family that comes to your shows or sees your stuff?
Yeah, this one sister that I was telling you about.
Yes.
She would always come to my shows regularly, her and her white husband. He's amazing. Shout out Rich. Shout out to Rich.
Sounds like an accessory. I have purse. I have shoe. I have white husband.
Honestly, yeah. So they would come to my shows a lot. They came to a lot of tapings. They came to Montreal when I did Just for Laughs New Faces. That was like really big. Yeah, they came to my album recording, and my brother Omar actually came to that. He was like my best friend growing up, but he's really mad at me. Yeah, my siblings in general were supportive. The oldest sister and the oldest brother, they're very strict, but they're also very busy schedule wise, so they just never really like ever used to come out. But now when I started posting about, and that's when the full like blackout happened with me and my family, when I started posting about sex, that was it for them.
No, stand-up is embarrassing, but sex is forbidden.
Sex is forbidden. My dad literally texts me being like, what do I do when someone texts me saying your daughter talked about losing her virginity on Instagram 2 weeks ago? And I was like, tell them the truth. Tell them you're shocked and you're scared and you've never experienced anything like this before.
Yeah, you still have agency in this.
Yeah. And he said, how can you have sex with someone outside of marriage and not feel disgusting or terrible or bad? And I said, Baba, it's not natural to be a virgin at 30. And he was like, well, that's why I wanted you to get married. And I kept bringing you all these people. I'm like, get married? I was disgusted of myself.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
And then I told him, I was like, I hated my body. I hated my body growing up. I had a terrible binge eating disorder for years when I lived with them. I literally like could never sexualize myself ever, constantly friend zoned by guys because I would self-deprecate, call myself fat always. And then when I had sex, like it changed my relationship to my body. It started making me like it more and take care of it more. And my dad was like, your body's going to burn in hell. Like he can't understand. He can't.
No, I know.
My dad straight up said to me, I told him I'm not happy. He said, I don't care if you're not happy. I want you to be safe from hell. That's how he sees it.
That's so intense. But it's like, it's easy for me to say from a non-religious place where hell does not exist in Judaism or whatever. But there's a lot of religions where they think they're saving you. They really, really, really do. But it's like, to me, I'm like, the only thing that I'm sure about is like right now.
Right.
And what if it doesn't exist? So I'm just going to have a terrible time right now and then it's the end?
Yeah. I guess you have to lie to yourself that it's not really a terrible time right now.
Right.
But until I got out of it, that's when I really realized like, no, it was a terrible time.
Yeah.
Even if it's like small things that you think are small, there are themes in your lives, like agency, like you said, choice, just full freedom. Like I'm not personally sexually promiscuous, but I think sexual freedom and liberation is extremely important, of course. But I personally don't think that overriding my body or disconnecting from it sexually serves me in any way, always harms me after.
Or like locking yourself up into a marriage with a person that you're like, this is going to be forever. That like you might be like your sister's friend.
Right.
Where it's like, my body's going to be locked up with this guy forever. Yeah. I'm not going to even give you the grandkids that you want.
Right.
Because my vagina says no.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, no, I'm like so proud of you. I feel like I know you so well, even though we've just met, but like it's really admirable to go from such a people pleasing place to a self pleasing place.
Wow.
Pun intended.
Oh my God. Yeah. Double meaning.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I never saw it that way.
You have to live for yourself. And like anybody else who comes along, that's fine.
Yeah.
As long as they're good to you and you're good to them.
Yeah. I think like I think I'm ready right now. Like, I don't know if I'm fully ready for a relationship just because emotionally I'm still 15 with these things, like in romance.
But that's fine.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
It's literally fine. Like, take your fucking time. And like, and I'm sure a lot of people are listening to this being like, oh my God, like, I'm like this. So this feels okay now.
Right.
We never got shown those stories. Where is the rom-com? There's 40-year-old virgin. He's a man.
Right.
But like, there's women that took a long time as well. I'm telling you, you need to write a fucking movie.
No, you're right. Because yeah, that was another massive way that I felt unrepresented was like, yeah, like it's like women are always meant to be known as like, you're hot no matter what, everyone wants to fuck you. But what if you're like, no, you're not getting any of those offers or prospects? Like,
yeah. And also, if you're in the space where you're like, I hate my own body, like the fact that you had an eating disorder and like you couldn't connect to your body at all, and now like the thing that was supposed to be shameful has like released you, like that's iconic. That's insane. And I feel like a lot of eating disorders do, this isn't an eating disorder podcast, but
are you a woman? Most likely you've had an eating disorder.
Exactly. But a lot of those come from, how do other people view me?
Yes.
And then you internalize that, and then you feel disgusting when it's like, no, let's start with me viewing me in like a really nice way.
Yeah.
And then I'll start to be nicer to my body.
Right.
And like, okay, maybe your body's going to burn in hell, but you'll be healthier when you go.
There's just no way that I could rationalize to myself, especially after my relationship, that this feeling of love and sex and intimacy and desire is sinful. It just was so pure.
Yeah.
It was such a generous, overwhelming, like high feeling that I had, where I want to be generous to another person. I want to like connect with them, that I was just like, this can't be haram.
No. And also, I feel like marriage wasn't created for like a very long time. Like, I feel like lots of stuff in the Bible happened before there was like civil unions.
That's so true. So what were they doing before that?
What were they doing?
Yeah.
Adam and Eve were running around naked like your parents.
Right.
And it was fine.
Shocking. Yeah.
It was totally fine. Salma, this has been so great to talk to you. I feel like we could talk for many, many, many more hours.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you for sharing everything that you did. Again, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much.
And where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram telling on myself with more sexcapades at salma.hindy, salma.hindy. Same with TikTok. And my website, just salmahindy.com. I put like my shows and stuff there if anyone wants to come.
Come.
Come and then come.
Yeah. You guys, you can follow me at Remy Casimir. Follow the podcast at How Come Podcast. If you haven't rated, reviewed, and subscribed, please do that. We love it. It's so sweet of you. And Salma, I have to ask you one more question. I have to ask everybody after a sexual experience. Did you finish?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And you guys, we'll see you next time on How Come. Goodbye.
Bye.
It's not you, it's me. I try so hard to finish honestly. They say you'll know when you go all the way from A right down to O. Oh no, I think that I still got a ways to go. Oh, I'm sick of this and I have got to know. How come? How come? How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help, 'cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna jizz